Kamalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashyakratau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Namah Pranavarthaya Shuddha-jnanaikamurtaye Nirmalaya Prashantaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Kataksha Kirana Chanta
Kataksha Kirana Chanta
Naman Mohabdhaye Namaha
Naman Mohabdhaye Namaha
Anantananda Krishnaya
Anantananda Krishnaya
Jagan Mangalamurtaye.
Jagan Mangalamurtaye.
Good. Where did we leave it off in the last? We were doing second verse, I remember.
Page 25, second para.
26, second para.
No, we have to do the para again.
Repeat. Yeah.
Is anybody done some preparation? Somebody going to read today?
I can read.
Yeah, sure. Sure. I remember we were talking about a particular verse in the Gita, which I think somebody had raised, wanted some clarification on. Has anybody looked at that verse, 14th chapter?
Yes.
You did?
I did.
Great, great. So what is the 14th chapter about? What is the title of the 14th chapter?
Oh my God.
Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga. Gunatraya Vibhaga. Yeah, they talk about Guna, and this is the last verse of that chapter. If I remember right, verse 27 or 28 or something like that. From that, he's quoted, Brahmana Pratishtha Aham. And if you remember, this is now Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. So Bhagavan is saying. So whatever you have prepared, would you like to talk about it, Shobha?
So basically, I think what Bhagavan is saying that I am the basis of Brahman. So Pratishtha, I guess, stands for basis. And further on, it also says, and he goes on to define the various, what do you call it, properties of the Atma, that it's indestructible.
Right.
And that Jiva is not different from Brahman. That's kind of what I gathered.
Correct. You're absolutely right. I don't know if you've done this Bhagavad Gita in any detail, but it's a pretty good big for an overview. Anybody else want to add anything about this particular verse? Bhagavan is talking. And like she said, the entire exercise is to understand that Brahman, which it describes in many ways, the characters. Therefore, you have Brahmanaha, the Shashti, Ekavachanam, of the Brahman, and then there are qualifiers for the Brahman. You can't really have a qualifier for Brahman, but the verse does say, Amritasya and Avyayasya and Dharmasya Shashvataha. These are the adjectives used. And in Sanskritam, when you use the main word is Brahmanaha, Shashti, then everything that qualifies also will be Shashti. So you have Avyayasya, you have Amritasya, Shashvatasya, Dharmasya, ityadi. Sukhasya, Ekantikasya. All of these are only adjectives qualifying the one that we are trying to talk about is Brahmanaha. That Brahmanaha, I am. Of that Brahman, I am the basis. Pratishtha. Pratishtha comes from Stha Dhatu. Anytime you see a Stha, you are very likely to be a Stha Dhatu. So, Pratishtha, Mula, the very basis, the thing of. So, what this verse is trying to say, what Swamiji is quoted here, is Pratishtha, Brahmana Pratishtha Aham. That of that Brahman, I am the basis. I am is the same thing as Brahman. And that I, you have to understand, is the Pratyagatma, the Aham. And that is really the Aikyam between Jiva and Paramatma, both being non-separate from Brahman. So, yes, Divyanshu had a question.
Swamiji, so of that Brahman, I am the basis. Shouldn't it be Brahman is the basis of I?
When you say Brahman and Parmeshwara are the same.
Okay.
So when he says I am the basis, Pratishtha, means they're both the same. They're no different. You don't have a Brahman and then a basis for Ishvara. It's not like that. Everything is only Brahman. So when Bhagavan is talking, Bhagavan is Brahman. Why is he Bhagavan? Because he knows. And if you know, what do you know? Aham Brahmasmi. That's the only thing you know. So if you know, anybody who knows, in fact, if you look at the previous verse in the 14th chapter, like I said, is Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga. So Bhagavan really talks about any bhakta who stays focused on I meaning Bhagavan here, Ishvara. Not Lord Krishna, not that form Krishna, but Bhagavan, Ishvara. He is eligible for being, I think the word used, if I remember right, is kalpate in one of the previous verses in the same chapter. That he is deserving of, eligible to be Brahman.
So it says Ishvara is Brahman with the power of Maya also.
Sorry, come again?
Ishvara is Brahman with the power of Maya also.
Yes, but you know that Maya doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Right? Our wonderful example is wave, ocean, and water. Wave, if you look at it as the individual Jivatma, and ocean, if you look at it as a Samashti, Ishvara, with their own upadhis, they are neither of them separate from water, Brahman. They are Brahman. Brahman is them, they are Brahman. Somewhere else we read, I don't remember where it was.
Wave is also Brahman and ocean is also Brahman, right?
Ocean is also Brahman. Wave is also water, ocean is also water.
So we
So
ourselves have to
example, yeah, go ahead, please.
We ourselves has to think that we are also Brahman and the Brahman is Brahman, right?
There is only Brahman.
Only one
What
Brahman.
our problem is that I assume that I am this body, mind, sense complex. We'll talk about that also. Karya Karana Sanghata. That's a phrase that is used. Karya is the Sharira. Karana is all the instruments that are there as part of it. Karya Karana Sanghata. Sanghata means the assembly. So our mistaken notion of saying that I is this Karya Karana Sanghata, which is what we're trying to dispel. Because purely logically, you can arrive at the fact that it's not possible. I cannot be this assembly of body and mind and senses and everything else.
Even for example, if we are thinking that if this body mind senses means if we are suffering from something means we will suffer. In the other hand, if we think that we are the Brahman, so we have the capacity to cure means it will get cured like that. No, Swamiji, is it right? My understanding?
Yeah. You have to take it one step further. See what happened. There are two perspectives here. One is the Vyavaharika perspective seen within the Jagat. See, there's always this problem between moksha and ahankara, I. The moment you say moksha, there is no I left. But I still remains. From the perspective of the Jagat, from the Vyavahara perspective, I remains. So even a person who is a realized person cannot ever make a statement, I know. Because there is no I. That I that we falsely think of ourselves as is Brahman. This whole text is going to only talk about that. The aikyam between what we see here and what is Brahman. In fact, surprisingly, not surprisingly, many times it happened. We are going to be doing similar thinking in the other class. Kathopanishad class also is going to be talking about similar things only. Because there is nothing else. There is only Upadesha, only Jnanam that we're trying to gain. In fact, many times when you ask any prayer, really speaking, the only prayer is, please help me gain moksha jnanam. There's no other prayer. But look at that sentence. Help me gain moksha jnanam. And that I itself has to gain that moksha jnanam. And what is that moksha jnanam? There is no I. There is no individual. So
even that we cannot, Swamiji, we should not say that help me to get moksha, like that we should not say, right?
But when a person is seeking moksha, he is still that individual. Who is seeking the moksha? He is not yet a mukta purusha. So what can he ask? He can only ask, he can ask a lot of other things in the Jagat, but really the prayer is moksha jnanam. But that person who is asking doesn't have moksha jnanam. That is what he is asking. Once he gains that moksha jnanam, then his perspective comes from two different angles. Our famous example of the lady who goes to buy the gold chain and the bullion trader. Both exist simultaneously. Perspectives are different. So even the Jnani Purusha has to live in the Jagat, has to have some sense of that ahankara. But Swamiji uses a very beautiful phrase for that. There is enlightened ahankara. It is no more the I, the ahankara. It is an enlightened ahankara which understands both the perspectives. And that is the jnanam we are trying to understand aparokshataya as I. Yes, Anand?
Swamiji, a small question. In this verse, 14th chapter 27, so where the aham is used from Parameshwara's perspective, so Parameshwara is speaking like aham, I am the pratishtha of Brahmana and so on. So here that aham refers to Parameshwara, right, Swamiji? So, but
aham refers to Atma. Brahma eva Atma. Atma eva Brahman.
Okay, Swamiji, but
Atma. See, word Atma has, depending upon how you look at it, several meanings. It can be the individual. It can be the Chaitanyam. It can be referred to in different contexts. The Sukshma Sharira. Because Sukshma says inextricably twisted along with the Atma in some fashion.
Swamiji, but only aham is used, right, Swamiji? So Atma, the word Atma is not used, only aham is used.
Aham
So
is used, correct. But Bhagavan is talking as somebody who knows already. And
yes,
he knows
Swamiji,
what?
then how do we bring about the Aikyam, Jiva, Ishvara Aikyam here with this, Swamiji? Like, how is
Because
that
he says,
done?
the previous verse, he says, if you remember, previous verse, 1 or 2 verses before that, if you remember right,
Okay.
that the bhakta becomes eligible to or deserving of being Brahman.
Okay.
Why? Because he has, see, to get to the root is very simple. Root is only jnanam. But where are you going to get the jnanam from? That jnanam has to come from Ishvara and Guru. There's no other source for that knowledge. Remember our discussions on Ananya Bhakti? All kinds of bhakti you have, you can ask for all kinds of things from Bhagavan, but really the ultimate prayer is, I have Shraddha in the Shastra, and Shastra says you and I are not different. The wave is telling the ocean, you and I are not different, they're the same. But I can't see it, I'm such a small thing, I keep getting born and getting dying and so on and so forth, because still a wave will think of I as I. But I have Shraddha in the Shastra, and Shastra says you and I are the same. Please help me understand how. See, again, you have this word, and help me understand. You have to accept that. That at some point, that has to understand both you and I are nothing but Brahman. So when you use these words in different contexts, that is why you need a guru to unfold this. If I read myself, I will read aham as aham. Yes, Divyansh, you had a question.
Swamiji, like one thing, like when we say when we say Pratishtha as basis, so like doesn't this like word set up a relationship? Like when I say wood is the basis for table, but I can say table is basis for the wood,
No,
right?
why is the table basis of wood? Oh, no. See, here you're talking about two different things. A fabric is the basis for cloth.
Yeah.
And for the fabric, the basis is yarn. Now, you can keep going down. Okay, at some point you have to say, for everything, the basis is only one.
Yes.
Correct? Now, when you come to that state, whether you say this is the basis for that or that is the basis for say, it's the same thing. It's the only place where you can say A is equal to B is equal to A. Otherwise, in Vedanta, as long as you have two different perspectives, the Atma is not equal to body. B, fortunately, those things match. Body is the same as Atma. Therefore, Atma, we say, there is the Adhishtanam for, because one is Mithya, one is Satyam. Different orders of reality.
Yes.
Yeah. But when Bhagavan, as Ishvara says, I am the Adhara, you have to understand that they are the same. There's no difference between it's one word and another word. Same thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Shall we start reading?
Yeah, should I start from
Yes,
this
please.
paragraph?
Next
Yeah,
paragraph.
okay. Oh, the next one. Are we starting from the non-dual vastu?
Yes, please.
Okay, then I have a couple of questions in this previous paragraph.
Okay, sure.
So the statement pratishtha here is only samyak jnanena.
Absolutely.
So samyak jnanena is the right knowledge. Is that?
Yeah, Samyak Jnanena is the
it's-
sameness. This is in fact answer to, it is there in the paragraph itself, to Divanshu's question. This Pratishtha is not like the Pratishtha of two different orders of reality. It is Samyak Jnanam. It is the sameness between the two. So only with that Jnanam can you genuinely make the statement.
Okay. And the next sentence, Pratyagatmani eva, you discover Brahmatvam. So by understanding your true nature is how you discover the essence of
Pratyagatmani
Brahman.
is in Pratyagatma, in the recognition of the true self, you see Brahman.
Okay. Okay. And therefore Pratyagatma is Brahmana Pratishtha.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. The non-dual Vastu is a Vastu that is unfolded by the Shastra. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. And it cannot and does not allow any kind of division. Tad Brahma Aham Asmi. I belong to Brahman or Brahman belongs to me is not possible. It cannot work. Nothing
That also
can
somebody
divide.
asked question. There is no relationship of one owning the other. There is no such relation. They are the same. Yeah.
So I think the minute you say I belong to something or something belongs to me, right there is a division.
There's a duality.
Right?
Yeah. Very good.
Nothing can divide even Akasha, an element. What to talk of divisions in Brahman? There is a Gita Vakya, Nainam Chindanti Shastrani, Nainam Dahati Pavakaha, Na Chainam Kledayantyapah, Na Soshayati Marutah. All this we can say of Akasha, can't we? Nainam Chindanti Shastrani. Shastrani is all earth. All the weapons made of minerals, metals, etc. cannot touch space. Even the hydrogen bomb, atom bomb, etc. cannot touch space.
Not even Rahul Gandhi's atom bomb, okay? Nothing can touch space.
Nainam dahati pavakaha, nor can fire. Nachainam kledayantyapah, nor the ocean can drown the akasha. Na soshayati marutah, nor the hot winds can dry up the akasha. So the other four elements belonging to the same order of reality as akasha cannot do anything to akasha because there again the karya karana prakriya is there.
Karana prakriya there. But somebody has a hand raised. Divyansh?
Swamiji, like I wonder sometimes when like they say that there are 5 elements, like 4 elements make sense because they have some form. But how did they assign Akasha also as an element? Because like it's not apparent, right?
In some Upanishads, for example, Chandogya Upanishad, they only talk of 3. Fire onwards. Fire, water, and earth. But this is really if you want, a model to understand what we know as the Jagat. The first 2, Akasha and Vayu, neither has a form. Right? Form first comes because each of these has association with one quality. Akasha has association with sound. Vayu has association with sparsha, touch. Now you have the form. Fire has rupa. And apaha and prithvi have additional code. So each one, Akasha has only sound, Vayu has sound and touch. Agni has those 2 plus rupa. And similarly, the other has 4 and Prithvi has all 5. In a sense, if you look at it this way, they get grosser and grosser as you go down in the list of 5 elements. That is how they are defined. And usually you will find that which is subtle, which is more pervasive, becomes the karanam for the one that is less subtle. So when we say that Akasha was the firstborn in a sense, and from the Akasha, actually the way to say this is, from the same Brahman, in the form of Akasha, you get the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one. But they all belong to the same order of reality of Mithya. All of them. Okay?
But like when we have modern science, we say that without air or any medium, sound cannot travel. So can't we say like air has both sound and sparsha?
Correct. Air has both. Air has both.
Yeah.
Why
But
you
space
have
does not have
sound?
sound, right?
Sorry?
How come space has sound? Because in vacuum the sound does not.
Don't go into that kind of a discussion on this. You will never find an end. But essentially, space is associated with sound. You don't compare with, because when we talk about Akasha, Vayu, etc., we are talking about not as yet the gross figures. We talk about subtle figures. In the subtle form, none of them are going to be tangible.
Right.
None of the five.
Right.
So at that level, when you look at it, it is still associated with the same five elements, five Akasha, sound, etc. Because they are, from there only you get all the other combinations. You get this sound from a grossified Akasha, grossified Vayu, etc. Yeah.
Okay. All these four are born of Akasha. Akasha is present in all of them. Akasha is the Karana, and the other four elements are Karyas. If these elements cannot even divide Akasha, another element, then how can elements destroy or create a division in Brahman? Division means that Brahman has to be divided into parts as jivas and this and that. They have to be created. This Karya Karana Sanghata, your own body mind sense complex, is born of the Pancha Mahabhutani, and the Jagat is also Pancha Mahabhutani eva. The Pancha Mahabhutani themselves are Karyas. Karya means Vacharambhanam Vikaro Namadheyam Mrittiketyeva Satyam. If Mrittika, or this is mud, Mrittika is it
Yes,
earth?
Clay.
Clay. If Mrittika is the Satyam, then all its Karyas become Mithya. How is Mithya going to destroy or divide the Satyam? It cannot divide the Satyam. Therefore, there is only Brahmaiva Satchidananda Lakshanam. Satchidananda Lakshanam Aham Brahmaiva. This is the Vakyartha. Vakyartha does not mean Vachyartha. Vakyartha is arrived at after considering all these factors like Samanadhikaranyam, Visheshana Visheshya Bhava, etc. Having considered all that, Lakshya Lakshana Bhava Sambandhena eva Vakyartha Nischiyate. Vakyartha is Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma Aham Asmi. How? Aham Asmi Sada, Aham Bhami Sada, then Aham Kadachit Apriyaha Na Bhavami, I never become Apriya. Therefore, what does it establish? Satchidananda Lakshanam Brahma Eva Aham Asmi iti Ataha Siddham.
Yeah, so you built it up. Yeah, incidentally, when somebody raises a doubt or a question, I will try and answer them. But anybody wants to is welcome to add whatever their observations are on that, whether they agree with the questioner or they agree with the answer. It's an open discussion. Okay, you want to talk a little about this paragraph? Before that, maybe Divyansh again has a hand raised.
Swamiji, isn't there too much Sanskrit Swamiji has used? Because generally it's only English, right? But here we are seeing too many.
Remember, what we are studying is a Manana Grantha. And the expectation is that most of us would have studied, all these are quotes from various sources, Bhagavad Gita and other Upanishads, etc. These are quotes from various sources. Would be reasonably familiar with all of them. Now, all of us are not familiar with all the Grantha, and yet I've decided that we will try and do this So you will find a lot of Sanskrit. In fact, you will find the way this is written is very different from, for example, the way Swamiji writes the Gita home study. That's much simpler. This invites thinking. This invites discussion. This invites analysis. And therefore, all the quotes that come from, if you read Bhashyam also, you will find lots of quotes from lots of places. Right? So there is no such thing as too much Sanskrit. And if you want to stop and ask clarification on any of the Sanskrit also, you're welcome. There are others here who are also very, very comfortable with Sanskrit. So anyone can answer that. Yes, Shobha, can we look at the...
Yeah, so I think again, Swamiji is talking about the indivisibility of Brahman, and that it cannot be divided by other order of reality, essentially, and using the example of Akasha, which cannot even be divided by elements in the same order of reality.
Right.
So Brahman again is indivisible and indestructible. And so the body, mind, sense complex are essentially born from the same 5 elements, and the Jagat is also born from the same 5 elements, and they themselves are creations, or just different names given to that one reality, or that one consciousness. So again, like the example of clay and all the different forms that it can take, like a pot or a saucer or whatever, the basic reality is clay, which is Satyam. And everything else it depends on clay for their existence, and therefore Amitya. Yeah, and then he talks about the Vakyartha versus Vachyartha. So Vachyartha is a literal meaning of a word versus Vakyartha, which is a more composite meaning or of the entire concept, essentially.
Correct.
And ultimately, it is Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. So that is the reality of Atma and is the same as Brahman.
Absolutely correct. The Vachyartha and Vakyartha. Vakyartha is also called Lakshyartha. Because that Brahman which we're trying to understand is not available for words. How do we then study? How do we try and understand Brahman? So one has to go deeper into the meaning and not apply the meaning that we would normally apply in this Jagat for everything. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma also is like that. The Satyam we are talking about to describe Brahman or to show Lakshyate is not the Satyam that we talk about in the Jagat. Same thing with Jnanam, same thing with Anantam or Anandam. Ratamji, you had a hand raised.
No, Swamiji, you already clarified. I was confused. I was getting confused because Lakshyartha, where Lakshyartha fits in, and luckily just clarified in the opening statement.
Yeah, actually, that's what I say. Here he says, Vachyartha is just the meaning, word or sentence meaning. Vachyartha. What he called Vakyartha is called Lakshyartha also, which takes into factor things like Samadhi Karanyam, which words are opposition, therefore which qualifies which, all those, plus Visheshana Visheshya Bhava. Normally in the world, we have a Visheshya. It has a certain quality called Visheshana. our famous example of a blue lily. That kind of thing, examine very carefully and see where it is, but that's not adequate. So he says there, having considered all of this, you look at the Lakshya, Lakshana Bhava Sambandhena. What is it that is being indicatively said? Because you cannot describe Brahman in words, not available for words. So you have to indicate in some fashion in such a way that we don't again make the same mistake of giving it a meaning which we normally use in regular language. So it has to have, because it is not available for words and you still have to use words, so those words have to be indicative of an intended meaning. And that is called Lakshyartha or Vakshyartha. Yes, Sanat?
Swamiji, a small question. So, in this verse, like for Asmi and Bhami, in the verse it is said like Aham Sada Asmi, Aham Sada Bhami. But for Priya alone, it is mentioned they are like using double negative. So, is it like to avoid any confusion, or is it just to fit the meter of the poem? Something?
Probably both. Probably both. I'm sure these will be discussed a little bit more by Swamiji in the further sections of the reading.
Yes.
So, because we have to understand the Lakshyartha. What are these words trying to say? When you say Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, it is not like saying a big blue fragrant lily. This is a standard example that is used. Those are three qualities that are pronounced to identify a particular lily which is blue, which is not white or whatever other color, which is large, which is not small, which is fragrant, which is not without fragrance. So separated from other flowers to begin with, other lilies to go into deeper. Now in Brahman, what are you going to do? So that kind of Vakshyartha cannot be used here. Therefore, you look at a Lakshyartha. Any other points that we want to take up in this? Vakyartha is Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma Ahamasmi. That is the Vakyartha. That is what is the intended meaning. That aikyam between whatever is Aham and Brahman. Because both are Satyam Jnanam Anantam. How? That is what he's saying in the verse itself. Sada Asmi Satyam, Sada Bhami, self-revealing knowledge. Apriyaha Kadachit Naham Anantam. So the same definitions, but understood correctly, it means, therefore he says, therefore, what is established? Satchidananda Lakshanam Brahma Eva Aham. Iti Siddham. This is QED. That same Lakshanam that we have for the Rupam, the Brahma Rupam, Brahma Swarupam and Aham Swarupam are identical. They are Satya Swarupam, Jnana Swarupam and Ananda Swarupam or Ananta Swarupam. It's the very nature of the self. Yeah, can we continue?
Swamiji, that I am not following. I never become apriya. That particular.
It's a double negative, like Anand said. Somebody want to explain that? Anand, you want to explain that or anybody else? Yeah. He wants to know about the double negative there.
Why?
Kadachit na apriya.
So one way, see, which just Swamiji clarified is one reason can be to just get that meter correctly, okay, for that line. Second is when we talk about Priya, many a times we will compare it with our liking of various objects and people in the world. right? We like something, we like people, we like objects. That is also Priya. So just by saying Priya, we may not get the correct meaning. So it is better to do this double negative and say it is never not liked, because there is a subtle difference between the two, right? So here it will become more clearer. So there is no doubt arising whether you will ever like yourself as much as somebody else. That comparative thing will not be there, right? If you say just Priya, it might become relative. Whereas if you say not, I mean, never not liked, there is no confusion. There is no relativity there. So that is why it is a better usage, especially for this particular one. The other two is not so confusing. Ever shining, you don't confuse it. Is it as shining as sun or no, no. We are clear about that, right? So that's good. So Satyam, we have already understood what Satyam is, absolute truth, independent existence. It is not dependent on anything. So these two words are already clear. Whereas this is a more confusing one. Among the three, Satchitananda, Ananda is the most often misunderstood, right? So that is why probably he has used it. I feel it is very good that he has used this way, right? So again, because now I told Ananda, let me just highlight this Ananda again. Why it is misunderstood is because we relate it to worldly happiness, right? So that is why it is commonly misunderstood, which is why we have to understand where did Satchidananda come from. The Shastra says it is Satyam Jnanam Anantam, which is what we are seeing here. It is from Anantam that Ananda has come. And Anantam is infinite. And what is infinite? Again, never to be mistaken as something big or something, for a long period of time. No, it is beyond both space and time, right? So, in fact, Shastra uses one phrase to describe Ananta. Ananta, Brahman being Ananta, is Brahman is Desha Kala Vastu Aparichinna. Desha Kala Vastu Aparichinna. That means not limited by space, time, and object. So if you understand that, you'll understand what is beyond space. So you can never question where is Brahman. Where question will never apply. When also will not apply, because when means it is in time, right? So it is not in time, it is not in space, it is beyond that, right? And object, what or which, right? So object, when we say object limitation, you have to understand that whenever we point to an object, we say this, right? So like, for example, I take this mouse and say this mouse. When I say this is mouse, it already excludes everything else, right? So everything else is not a mouse. So already you are bringing in duality. Clear? So not limited by object is a clear evidence in the Shastra that Brahman is non-dual, right? So
There are a
that is the
couple more
beautiful.
hands raised. Jayanti ji?
Namo Namaha. It is also, for example, in our daily life, rather, routine life, suppose if today's food is very good, very well prepared, we don't say, or even a small boy asking how his performance may be very, very good in the examination, the father says, he will not say very good, not bad, he will say. So similarly in cooking also, if the wife has done a very good dish, instead of praising, exceptionally very good, they'll say not bad. So instead of praising it to utmost and then saying it the other way, I felt like that.
Good. Shobha?
I think I just wanted to add that the statement aham kadachit apriyaha na bhavami, I think it says that I will never be disliked by me, right?
Correct. You, all these explanations are correct. Why should we do this? Because in the world, you tell me one object, one relationship, one situation, which is always something you like. You will always find everything that is likable can become not likable. You know, somebody was given an example. You get married, your spouse is very likable. After some years, may not be so. Everything is like that in the Jagat. So when the phrase used is kadachit na apriyaha, never gets into the state where I become apriya. To very clearly contrast with what we generally understand in the world. Everything can change. The same, I like this example. A car I have wanted for a long, long time, worked very hard and got the car. I very happily put it in my driveway, and then the neighbor buys a car which is bigger. That same Priya becomes not so Priya. That kind of thing will never happen. There's no question of any such thing. Yes, Divyansh.
Swamiji, what is the difference between this kadachin ham priyah and
Apriya.
yeah,
Kadachit na apriya. It's a
yeah,
double negative.
yes,
Na apriya.
and aham is always priyam. So in the positive also, like it makes same thing, right? So is there any like difference? Can you tell?
No, it is just to make sure that you understand this is not like the Priya that you see in the Jagat. And like many people said, it is also to keep your meter going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Direct way you can say is aham sadaiva priyaha.
You could have said that.
But you will not get noticed it. It will be passed on. When it is written like this, it gets
all these
into our
discussions come because it's written like this. No?
Not only that, it gets into our
No,
mind.
but even when you say sadaiva, you are only saying from a time perspective.
Time point.
Absolutely.
It doesn't qualify the intensity of
Any
liking.
circumstances, all three things are involved. Time, situation, and everything is covered in kadachit.
Exactly.
That's the beauty of the language. Can't.
No, but
Thank you.
Sada
I
thing
don't
is
see Jagdishanji today.
No, he is not.
He has left a message, na
Another one who
Swamiji,
is
that
very-
he is attending some music program. He left a message in the group.
Because he is another one who is very intent on Sanskrit. It will be very nice to have him over.
Swami, one more question.
Yeah, sure.
So in like the second line, it says Brahmeva aham ataha siddham Satchidananda Lakshana. And Swamiji says that this is the Vakyartha. So, like, is there any like Vakyartha we have also discussed, of which we are getting the Vakyartha? Like
What is
generally,
Vakyartha?
we have Vakyartha and then we say that we will
No,
deduce
this
Vakyartha.
is Vakyartha he's suggesting. Vakyartha, you think of it Lakshyartha.
Lakshya.
It becomes easier to understand.
Okay.
Is that which is not the word meaning, but that which is intended meaning by using that word. There is a
That
whole
is the
lot of...
Vakyartha, right? After which we deduce the Vakyartha.
No, Vakyartha is only word meaning. That is not our concern at all. That is applicable for anything in the Jagat.
Right.
Even in the Jagat, many times you find when somebody is expressing something, he either means the Vachyartha, the literal meaning of the word, or sometimes an intended meaning, a different meaning. The speaker has a different word meaning he had in mind, which is why you have so many miscommunications. No? He says the word, the listener hears that word, but interprets his own way.
Right.
Because some common things are there. You say an apple, we all know what an apple is. But he might mean something completely different.
So here, like Swamiji is saying that this cannot be interpreted otherwise, is it?
Yeah, it cannot be. It is Vakyartha. It is the intended meaning of what the verse says. That the nature of Swarupa of Aham is Satchidananda. The Swarupa of Brahman is also Satchidananda.
Okay.
Yeah. Should we continue?
Ataha siddham means therefore it is established.
Yeah.
For this
QED.
reason, it is established.
QED. That's what we say in maths, no? Yeah.
He brings in Mananam. Saying Ataha Siddham means that Mananam analysis is brought in. Therefore, the whole book is going to be a sadhana for the sadhyam. What is sadhyam? Vakyartha. So sadhyam essentially is the spiritual goal here.
No, that which is to be understood, that which is to be established. Sadhana is the means by which that which is going to be established. And what is to be established? The Vakyartha of the, not the Vakshartha. Vakshartha everybody knows.
What is sadhyam? Vakyartha. Vakyartha is what? Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma Aham Asmi. That is the Vakyartha. That Vakyartha is achieved already, Siddha Vishaya. Therefore, Vichara is not leading to the knowledge of Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Vichara is purely an analysis to eliminate all the doubts that are against the Vakyartha. Vichara is not pramana. Therefore, this logic, etc., which is going to be used, is not exactly the pramana. Then what is it? It is an analysis to help you see that the meaning of the Vakyartha is true.
There is pramana for this. Pramana is what? Where does the author get all this from? The pramana is only Shastra. Shastra tells you the nature of I and also tells you the nature of Brahman. And Shastra tells you they're the same. That's where the Aikyam comes from. The author is also drawing from the same pramana. Now, having drawn from the same pramana, I have to analyze in my own mind. How is it possible? And in fact, this is a tough thing because many of these things that you see here in the pramana, Shastra pramana, it seems to be contradictory to what I think I know. And therefore, I have to do a lot of analytical thinking. That analytical thinking is called vichara. That vichara is not the pramana. That's not going to give you the answer. Answer is there already. But now you analyze that answer and say, why is my understanding different? So far, I've understood like this. Now, this is what Shastra is saying. It is different from what I thought I understood. How is it different? How do I understand it? Where are the essential differences? Where is error taking place? There must be an error. One of the two must be wrong. Where is error taking place? That kind of analysis is called mananam. Now, I can get inputs either from my own experiences, my own conclusions that I've drawn, or I can get inputs from various other sources. Books I read, people I listen to, other people I respect a lot, still they have something to say. All these are inputs. And I start with the Shraddha in the Shastra as a pramana. Somewhere we saw, I don't know in this class or the other class, that we have a definition of astikyam. Asti iti astikyam. Asti means it is. What is? That the Shastra is the pramana, is the means of knowledge. That has to be a starting point. That, I tell you, many years ago when I was trying to understand this, I had one thing very firmly fixed in my head. And that is that our rishis knew something that I don't know. There was an inbuilt respect for it. They knew something that I didn't know. Starting from there saying, trying to understand what did they understand? Why is it different from my understanding? Who is going to explain the difference to me? That is why your search for a guru becomes critical. The guru has to unfold that for you. So here, this is already an established fact that I am Satchidananda Brahman. Everything else that I thought I was, which is not Satchidananda Brahman, as a Vakyartha, there has to be an error somewhere. So that is what we're trying to establish in this whole context. And the analysis, this text, like I said, is an analytical text, Manana text, Grantha. We start by accepting that what the Shastra says is correct. My God is so different from what I thought I knew. How can I accept that? That's why Shastra never starts by saying, you're Ishvara. In one of my other classes also, I quoted this. This is a true case. There was a income tax officer in Lucknow who believed he was Radha or Krishna, I don't remember which. And he would come back from the office, dress himself up, and walk the streets of, I think it was Lucknow or Vrindavan. And he had a lot of followers. That is not what we're talking about. There, what is he saying? He's saying this Sthula Shukshma Sharira, which I take to the office in the morning, becomes Radha in the evening. No, that's not what we're saying here. So one has to go into the depth of that question, understand where the differences are. That analysis is the manana. Any doubts that might have been created, address those doubts, remove those doubts. It will not happen in one day. It's a whole process of examining, thinking, coming out with questions, which is why Shastra always says don't accept as simple blind faith. Ask questions. Pariprashnena. Bhagavan says in Bhagavad Gita. Ask, find out. If you can, literally, I have seen that you don't really have to ask. If you just wait, any questions I may have, any misunderstanding I may have, if I sufficiently long period I spend in trying to sit in Shravanam, all of them get addressed. This is practical experience. And the reason is obvious. Today, I am sitting here with an IQ of whatever, and I think I'm a very analytical person. I know everything. I don't know everything, but at least I can analyze everything. And this jnanam has been passed on to us over tens of thousands of years. And in that intervening period,
Some technical issue stuck. Seems.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
Looks
wasn't
like
sure if it was me.
but it is for
Yeah, I
me.
think Swamiji lost connection. Yeah.
It's-
Someone able to contact him via phone or something?
I'll call Swamiji.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
I'm sorry, I think I lost my network connection. Back on.
Yeah.
So that's something which you must have the patience and the commitment to continue doing the Shravanam and Mananam. And anything that bothering you in the immediate present, like we're doing right now, we should get clear, but continue in the same way. We'll close here today. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.